Good evening, yogis. Welcome to this evening's class. This is Julie from Totally Holistic Health. So I thought it'd be quite nice just to offer a bit of an evening class, sort of something to maybe if you've been sort of stuck at home, a little bit stiff and achy, so something to get you moving a little bit, but also something just to sort of ease you down towards the end of the day. So we're going to need a mat. If you haven't got a mat, then you can also use a towel. Also, it's quite useful to have some blankets and cushions around if you haven't got bolsters or blocks as well, just to give you a little bit of extra support. So I'm going to get my bottom on some blankets here, just to raise my bottom up. And the reason why we do this is just to allow our spine to come into a nice neutral position, so everything's sort of stacked on top of each other. So just try to imagine that your head is floating up, nice and tall. Just bring those shoulder blades down the back. I'm just going to spend a couple of moments just to check in to how we're feeling. So it's quite nice just to use this time at the start of a practice just to allow ourselves to become still. It's also quite nice just to leave everything at the door. So if you've had a bad day, sometimes it's quite nice just to shut the door and just have this moment of quietness and stillness. Just allow you to reset yourself. It's also quite nice just to focus on any sort of sensations you can feel. So, when you're sitting here, just notice if you're holding any tension anywhere. And really just having that awareness of it will really help us release it. So we're not really pondering on why we're feeling that way. We're just going to notice it. Allow ourselves just to acknowledge it, move on, and come back into our breath, into the sensations we can feel in our body, and that stillness. And then when you feel ready, just very gently going to open our eyes and slowly come back into the room. Okay, so we're just going to just start waking up the shoulders a little bit and the neck to release any tension there. So again, just making sure you're nice and tall. So the main thing is you are stacking the spine, the vertebrae one on top of the other, and we're going to bring the chin down towards the chest. Again, this is more of an elongation of your spine. So again, we're not trying to crank the neck down towards the chest. We're just allowing the head to become really heavy. Just enjoying that lovely long back spine. And rolling the right ear onto the right shoulder. Breathing into the left side of the neck. Okay, so very slowly and carefully, we're going to bring the head back a little bit, so don't overextend the head back, because you will press the neck. So just very slowly rolling the head over the ear over to the left side. And rolling the chin back down to the chest. And then we're going to go the opposite direction, so the left ear onto the left shoulder. And slowly just easing the head back a little bit, so don't compress the spine, so we're not tossing the head right back, we're just very slowly easing it round. So the right ear is now on the right shoulder. And then just drawing the head back down towards the chest. And then slowly it's going to bring the head back up. Okay, so we're going to draw the shoulders up towards your ears, so really hold them nice and tight up towards the ears. So keep the breath really steady, so continue to breathe, but we're just going to hold that tension there in the shoulders. And then we're going to shrug them down as we're sighing out. And again, bring the shoulders up towards your ears. Hold that tension, keeping the breath really steady. And then slowly shrugging them down, breathing out. And if you do feel you need to move the shoulders at all, I mean, that's quite nice just to very gently ease them around. Okay, so we're going to come on to our backs now. So if you want a little bit of comfort and you have got a mat, you can obviously just put a blanket over your mat if you want to. It's nice. But if not, we're just going to leave them to the side and then slowly allowing ourselves to come onto our backs. So try to keep the knees bent with the feet flat on the floor, and it doesn't really matter how far away from your bottom you have your feet. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands into the side. Just see if you can draw the shoulder blades under the back. We're going to bring the hands onto the right hand onto the belly, the left hand onto the heart, and just really feel that connection with the breath and the beating of the heart. Just watch that rise and fall of the belly and the chest as you're breathing in and breathing out. And now gently we're going to just draw the right knee into the chest. So keep the left knee bent on the floor. So just easing it in. So again, just trying to keep the shoulders relaxed. So we're not trying to bring the chin up towards the chest or anything. We're just onto the knee. Just gently giving our legs a nice bit of a hug. And again, keeping the left leg on the floor, we're just going to bring the right leg up towards the ceiling. So again, if you have a belt, you could place a belt over the sole of your foot, or you can just very gently grab hold of the back of that thigh. Just relax into the glutes. Don't overstretch anything. We're just very slowly putting a little bit of tension on that hamstring, but we're not overstretching it. So you might find a little bit of tension or tightness in the back of the knee or into the glute. But if it feels too strong, just easing out of it. It's quite nice just to do some nice circles with those feet now as well, just to release the feet. Okay, so we're going to draw the knee back into the chest. So we are going to straighten out this left leg. Now we don't want to, if you've got issues with your back, I'll probably just rest the left leg on the floor. If you're feeling okay though with it, we're just going to straighten out and keep the foot floating off the floor. But if you have got issues with your knees and with your back, just place the knee on the floor. Place the foot on the floor. So nice and stretching. And then very gently bring the left knee into the chest. We're going to stretch out the right leg. So again, keeping it floating. So use the core, use the belly, pull the belly back towards the spine. And then swapping legs, so grabbing hold of the right, bringing the left leg out. And again, either resting on the floor or just floating it. So just very gently using the core, swapping legs again, stretching out your right leg. And then easing the right leg in, stretch the left leg out. And if you want to here, you can either stay here or you can just see if you can bring your nose up towards your knee as that leg is floating or resting on the floor, whichever you decide. And slowly bring it back into centre. So we're going to bring the left foot back down onto the floor. Place your right foot onto your left knee. And very gently we're going to bring the left knee in towards the chest. So again, just grabbing hold of the back of the left thigh. Just very gently give it a nice stretch. So again, try to make sure that your head is nice and long, so you've got a nice long spine. So if you find your head is tilting back a little bit, just draw the chin down, but not too much, so it's like in a natural position, so you're not over extending that neck. And then gently bringing both our legs down onto the floor. So keeping the right leg bent, we're going to bring the left knee in. Give it a nice big hug. And then in your own time, we're just going to bring the leg up into the air. So again, either use a belt over the sole of the foot, or just bring the hands just clasping on the back of the thigh. So if it's really, really tight and you're struggling to actually get your leg too close, don't forget you can bend your knee. So don't worry too much if you feel your arms aren't quite long enough. You can just bend the knee, but just put a little tension on that hamstring. And again, if you need to just circle the ankles just to release any tension, and clicks and cracks, that's fine. And then draw the knee back into the chest. So again, trying to make sure that the lower back is really engaged with the floor, so you're really pushing the belly in towards the spine. We're going to stretch out your right leg onto the floor, or floating it, keeping the belly nice and strong, and then swapping legs to bring the right leg in, left leg out, pushing the left leg away, keeping that belly nice and strong, but keeping the breath steady as well. So if you find you're holding your breath, you just need to continue to breathe. So just watch back how that feels, stretching away with your left leg. And bring the left leg back in. So again, stretching away with the right leg, just engaging the core a little bit more, and if you want to, just see if you can bring your nose up towards your knee. And then bringing the head back down. So we're going to just bring your right leg back onto the floor. Just place your left foot onto the right knee and just draw your thigh in towards the chest. So again, recline pigeon. Again, make sure that you're relaxing your shoulders. Nice long spine. So again, just also notice if you're holding your breath, just trying to breathe now into that thigh, stretching out the left hip. And then just bringing the foot off. We're going to bring both our knees into the chest and just do a few little bit of rolling around on the lower back just to give it a little bit of a massage. It's always quite nice just to offer a little bit of self-care. So we're going to come up to sitting. So you have an option of either to roll to your side and then come up to a seated position, or you can bring your hands under the back of the thighs and rock up. It really is depending on how you're feeling. But either way, I'll meet you in seated position. We're going to have our feet on the floor with our knees bent. Okay. So the main thing is we're trying to keep the spine nice and long. So again, just try to bring the shoulder blades down the back. So get nice and strong in the back. Now, normally I would say bring your knees together, but if you've had a bit too much chocolate this weekend, you may find that the belly gets in the way like it is with me. So again, just bring the knees nice and hip width apart. So keeping the nice straight back. We're very slowly, we're going to bring the arms into cactus arms and slowly leaning back. So again, we're using the core, keeping the breath nice and steady. And then slowly, we're going to twist round to the left, opening the arms nice and wide. Really using those obliques. Keeping the breath steady. Coming back to centre, back into cactus arms. Don't forget you can come between, you can come have a rest in between, or if not, just turn towards the right. Bring your arms out the side. Cactus arms again. Slowly coming back to centre. So we're going to bring the legs nice and wide now. Just drop the head down between the legs. Just slowly using a couple of moments just to rest the belly, stretch out the back. And then slowly we're going to come back up. So we're going to come onto all fours now. So again, as I always say, make sure that your fingertips are nice and spread, because we're spreading the weight through the fingertips rather than through the wrist. So make sure that your knees are about hip width apart. So again, really nicely strong in your arms, so really pushing away from the floor, just releasing the spine. So we're going to drop the belly down towards the floor, bring the head up. So a nice smiley spine, trying to keep the head in line with the spine. Engaging the hands, pushing away from the floor. So really pushing away Dropping the head down, so you've got a lovely stretch in the shoulders. So if you find you're dropping down a little bit in your arms, really engaging into the floor. Dropping the belly back down, head up. It's quite nice to do these in your own breath and your own time, so if you want to do a few more, just slowly breathing in and out. So breathing out as the belly drops down. Breathing in as you're pushing away from the floor. And if you want to bring some hip sways, you can do. So again, just moving the hips a little bit from side to side. Again, the good thing about this pose, cat-cow, is you can do really a lot of things with it. It's good for stretching out the wrists a little bit. It's also really good for just releasing the hips, the shoulders, the neck. And then gently releasing into a nice neutral spine. Okay, so we're going to, well, we have a couple of options on what we do next. Option one is, I know I always suggest that we have the shins flat on the floor. Now, if you've got issues with your knees, obviously you can use your blanket to pop that underneath. So if you've got issues with your knees, if you pop the blanket underneath your shin, what you're trying to do is take the pressure off the knee so that the shin is supporting the body rather than your knee. So that's option one. So that is quite a nice option to try. Also, if you, I know I always normally suggest that you have the top of your foot flat on the floor, so it just makes it a little bit easier to balance. It just keeps, you can use that just to stabilise the body a little bit more. But what you can also do is you can curl your toes under. So it just makes it slightly more tricky to balance, but also it does put a little bit more pressure on the knees. So again, just be really mindful of how that feels for you. At the end of the day, this is your practice, so we're just trying to work with what we've got. Okay, so I'm going to have my toes curled under. It's quite a nice toe stretch. It really stretches the bottom of the foot. So a nice neutral spine. So we're going to reach back first of all with your right leg. So keeping the toes on the floor, stretching back. Really enjoying that. So again, either staying there, stretching out a little bit longer. And if you want to, you can just see if you can raise your right leg up. Now we're using a little bit more of the core here because it's a little bit tougher because you have got your toes curled under. So if that does feel a little bit weird, you can just push the shin back in the floor like we normally do. But again, that choice is yours. So if you're feeling quite stable and quite happy, we can now see if you want to bring your left arm up and just reaching forward. So if you're finding it a little bit more unstable, then either use your core or just flatten out your left foot onto the floor. And then we're going to bring the left leg back. So we're going to just reach forward now with your right foot and bringing it up between the legs. Sorry, between your hands. Sorry, you know my anatomy and physiology. Anatomy and physiology is never quite right. So make sure that your hands are level with your foot and your front knee is not overshooting your ankle, so you've got a nice line there. So your back foot, you can just bring the knee down, the foot down if you want to. And if you want to, you can just slide your back leg back a little bit so you've got a little bit more of a stretch. So try to bring the chest up. So if you need to bring a couple of books or if you've got blocks to bring them under your hands, you can do it, or just come onto the fingertips. So we're trying to bring the shoulder blades back. So really enjoying that stretch. Okay, so we're going to push down with that front foot, bring the hands into the heart centre, into a nice prayer pose. And just you can drop the hips down a little bit more as you just bring the shoulders back. Nice. Again, use that stability, so make sure that your feet and your back knee are hip width apart. Makes it so much easier to balance. And then we're going to just very gently do a twist round to the right. So you're going to bring the left elbow just onto the outside of your right knee and just slowly push the hands together so you've got really strong in your top of your body. And really enjoying that lovely stretch. Slowly coming back to centre. So we're going to bring the hands onto the floor and we're going to walk back with those hands, stretching your front leg. So again, just be really mindful of that back knee. So if you have got a little blanket, it's quite nice to give it a bit of support. So trying to keep the chest nice and open. So this is quite a nice stretch. This is called a half split. So if you have, if your knees are okay, you have an option of staying up. And I probably would, if you've got issues with your knees, if you can stay just on this knee. If your knees are okay and you want to increase that stretch, you can walk the hands back a little bit and drop right down. And then just come forward into a nice forward fold, which is slightly more challenging. But again, just staying up if you need to. And then very slowly I'm going to push up with the back leg back into that lunge. Wonderful. So we're going to curl the back toes under. Just step it forward a couple of steps and come into Warrior One. So we're pushing into Warrior One. So make sure your back heel is down onto the floor. So we're making sure that your left hip's coming forward, your right hip's back, so we're facing into the short side of the mat. So make sure you're really well connected, bringing the shoulders back. So really reaching back with your back leg, grounding down, bring the hand into the heart centre. Really nice and strong in this pose. Okay, so we're going to open up now into Warrior Two, and I'm actually facing the wrong way here. So we're going to just turn the hips and then bring the arms nice and wide. So again, the main thing with this one is your front knee does not come over your ankles. If you find that your knee's overshooting, really bringing it back, because it will give you that stability. You're really working on the muscles around the knee to give it some strength. So you should find that your big toe is coming out the front of your knee. So nice and strong. So we're going to just turn the palms up. So what you're trying to do is just drop the shoulder blades down the back a little bit. So just really notice they're coming down. If you can, bring the arms back a little bit so you're really opening up the chest. And then bring the arms back. We're going to bring the palms back down. We're going to reach forward with our right arm, turn the palms slowly coming into reverse warrior. Really looking up, enjoying that lovely stretch in the back. And then slowly back. Brilliant. So we're going to straighten your front leg. Reach forward with your right arm, slowly pivot round into triangle. So again, really focusing on your feet. Breathing into this. And then slowly put a little bend in that front knee, coming back up. And straighten your right leg again. So what we're going to do now, we're going to turn the whole body round to the short side of the mat. So like we did with Warrior One. But we're going to make sure that the feet are about hip width apart. We're keeping the legs straight into pyramid pose. So again, your left hip's coming forward, your right hip's coming back, so you're nice and square on. So your back foot really needs to be down onto the floor. So if you're struggling with that, just bring the legs slightly further together and closer together. Okay, so we're going to breathe in, bring the arms above the head. So just trying to imagine you've got a lovely big beach ball in your arms. And slowly we're going to just reach forward with our beach ball, reaching forward, nice stretch. Trying to keep the head in line with the spine. And then gently bringing the arms, bending the front knee, coming back into a high lunge. We're going to put a little bit of a bend in the back leg to a nice high lunge. Fantastic. So again, we're trying to engage the core a little bit, so we just tilt the pelvis a little bit underneath just to protect that lower back. Bring the hand onto the floor. I'm going to put in the front foot to join the back into a plank. So with this plank, don't forget you can bring the knees down into a half plank and just take your time. And then gently we're going to just come onto our bellies and then rest our forehead onto our forearms. And just take a couple of moments just to maybe tilt the pelvis a little bit from side to side, and the knees and the heels. Take a couple of breaths. And now bringing the hands over the chest, we're going to push back into a pose of a child. Really just dropping the head down. Maybe bringing the knees nice and wide. And just reaching forward with the arms. Nice stretch in the side body. And then slowly coming back onto all fours. So we're bringing the knees back underneath the hips. We're going to do the second side. So again, if you need to bring your blanket underneath your shins, you can do, just to protect your knees. Okay, so again, nice and strong in your arms. Fingers nice and spread, nice flat back. So we're going to drop the belly down towards the floor, bring the head up. So again, just enjoying that lovely release. Just take your time, just use your breath. If you need to move around a little bit, again, just to eke out any creaks and cracks, that's fine. Just taking your time, enjoying it. And then gently releasing into a nice central position, nice neutral spine. Bottom underneath your knee, over your knees. Shoulders underneath your, hands under your shoulders. Okay, so again, we can, if you want to, curl your toes under, if that feels okay, as long as your knees are okay with it. And we're going to reach back now with our left leg, keeping the toes on the floor, enjoying that stretch. Okay, so again, really engaging those fingertips to protect the wrists. And we're going to just bring your left leg up now. So again, either keeping the toes curled under with your right foot, or again, if you feel a little bit more secure, just pushing that shin in to the floor. It's really up to you. And then if you can, or if you want to, reaching forward with your right arm, keeping everything in line. Keeping the breath steady. And then bringing your right arm back. And we're going to reach forward with your left foot, bringing that between the hands. So again, either keeping the toes curled under or flat in the front, so back foot, and also make sure that your knees and your front foot are nice hip width apart, keeping the chest nice and open, shoulder blades down the back. So just watch that front knee. And then we're going to push down with that front foot, bring the hands into the heart centre. So again, really enjoying that stretch. Again, just watch the belly, bring the belly back towards the spine to protect the lower back. And then we're going to twist around to the left, so bringing the right elbow just onto the outside of your left knee, pushing the hands together, nice and strong. And then bring the hands back, either side of that front foot. So we're going to walk back with those hands, just stretching out your left leg. So again, as we did before, so you can stay into a nice high half split if that feels okay for you. Obviously, you just be really mindful of that knee. Now, if your knees do feel okay, you can drop back, slide back, keeping the head nice and open and chest nice and open. Just bring the head forward. So it's a slightly stronger stretch on that hamstring. And then walking hands forward, bring the hands either side of the front foot. So we're going to just very slowly just raise the back leg back off the floor and just step the back foot in a little couple of steps and pushing down with that bottom leg, coming into warrior one again. So just bring the right hip forward, the left hip back, nice and strong. So again, just engaging the core a little bit, just tilting the pelvis underneath, just to protect the spine. And then we're just going to turn into warrior two. So again, opening up, very gently, just adjusting yourself. And then bringing that lovely warrior two, really strong in the base. Dropping the shoulder blades down. So again, just turn the palms of the hands and the palms are up. So what that does, it just automatically drops the shoulders down. So just notice the difference, how that feels. And if you can, just bring the arms a little bit back behind you, so opening up the chest. And bringing the palms back down and the arms back to centre. So gazing nice and strong down your middle finger of your left hand. So we're going to reach forward with the left hand, turn that palm, slowly bring the arm overhead. And again, really nice stretch here. Keeping the breath strong, because we need to keep the breath strong, just to keeping the legs nice and strong and engaged. And slowly coming back to centre. So again, just straighten your front leg. Reaching forward again with your left hand, slowly pivoting round into triangle. So again, don't worry too much about the knees. If you need to put a little bit of a bend in the knees and you don't come down quite so far, that's absolutely fine. So don't try to do something that's going to cause any pain. Just find out what your limits are of your body and just enjoy them, notice them. Put a little bit of bend in the front leg and slowly straightening that front leg. Brilliant. So we're going to come into pyramid now. So we're just going to slowly bring the hips round, so just adjusting the feet, bring your back leg. So again, they're both facing towards the front of the mat. So right hip forward, left hip back. And so your back foot can now land onto the floor. So bringing the arms above the head. So again, imagine your lovely beach ball. Keeping the back nice and straight. Just reaching forward with our beach balls. So keep the pressure in the legs. Bring the arms down. So I'm just going to just turn the back foot round a little bit into a high crescent lunge. Pushing up, so just put a tiny little bend in that back leg and really just tucking the pelvis under, keeping the core nice and engaged just to protect the back. Really good for building strength in the legs. And then bring the hand either side of your front foot. And again, coming back into a plank. So it can either be a half plank or a full plank. So again, just enjoying that lovely sensation. Pushing away with the heels. And slowly coming back down onto your belly. And just resting your head on your forearms. And again, just rocking a little bit from side to side. Just release the hips, the knees, the ankles. Okay, so keeping your arms with your head on your forearms. We're going to reach back first of all with your right arm. And just see if you can grab hold of that left foot. Slowly drawing it down. A nice stretch in those quads. But also notice, really trying to push the pelvis into the floor as well, so you get more of a stretch on the front of the body. And releasing that foot. Swapping hands, reaching back with your left. And again, making sure that you're pushing the pubic bone into the floor, just to get more of a stretch on the front. And then releasing that foot. And we're just going to roll onto our backs. So just make sure that you've got your blankets handy, because we'll need those in a minute. So again, if you've got cushions, pillows, blankets, if you've got a bolster, that's perfect. So we're going to just come onto our backs. And again, just bring the feet to about hip width apart. We're just going to do some gentle pelvic tilts. So pushing the lower back into the floor and then gently popping the other way. So just slowly just mobilising the spine a little bit. Taking your time. Again, keeping the back of the neck nice and long. Very slowly we're going to push the lower back into the floor and then continue and push down with the feet, slowly bringing the bottom off the floor. So bring the weight into the shoulders. Again, just taking your time. So we're trying to have a nice stretch here in the front of the body. And slowly lowering ourselves back down. Pelvis down towards the floor, slowly tilting it back up, continuing on, just use the glutes, use those quads, slowly raising your bottom up, keeping the head in line with the spine, and then gently releasing back down, again tilting the pelvis the opposite way, and then slowly pushing the lower back again down into the floor, and then we're just going to raise the bottom up just enough so that you can bring your blankets, pillows, bolsters, whatever you've got underneath. So just try to get them underneath the bottom so your bottom is nice and supported. Now obviously the higher you've got underneath your bottom, if you've got a bolster, obviously you're going to be quite a strong back bend. If you've got 2 or 3 blankets like me, it's going to be medium. If you've got just a small pillow, again it doesn't matter as long as you're in a slight incline. So we're sort of doing a very gentle inversion here. Now, if you've got issues with the back, I would probably keep your knees bent, but you can also, if you want to, just stretch out. If your back feels okay, stretch out with the legs. So you've got a bit of a bow pose here, so you're really just a nice stretch in the whole front of the body, just to bring the shoulder blades underneath your back if you want to open up the chest a little bit more. And you can bring the hands just to rest on the floor beside you with the palms up. So really opening up the chest. Just use the breath, really enjoy that lovely sensation. Expanding the chest, breathing in, expanding the belly. Obviously, if you start here and you find your back is starting to just tweak a little bit, obviously just bend the knees, or you can just bring the knees into the chest. So we're just going to stay here as long as you feel comfortable, maybe for about 2 or 3 more breaths. And then gently bending the knees. Now, if you are practicing your bedroom, what you can do is if you just turn yourself round so you've got the edge of your bed, you can hook your legs over the edge of a bed. Or if you've got a chair handy, you can do the same, which is quite nice. If you've got a wall handy, we can do legs up the wall from here as well. So again, just making sure that your legs come up the wall. If you haven't got a wall handy and you've got a little bit of support underneath your bottom and your lower back, you can just allow the legs to come up into the air. So if you've got a bit of support, it's quite nice to do. But if you haven't, said just quite nice, just as long as you're supported underneath the lower back and your bottom, you should be okay. So we should feel quite weightless. So this is a really good inversion for bedtime. Just allowing everything to come down. Feel a lovely fresh blood just washing through the heart. It's also really good for lymphatic drainage, which again is really good for your immune system as well. So draining any tension from the legs. Actually, my legs are starting to wobble, so I'm actually going to bring my knees into the chest. So sometimes it's quite nice just to do that as well. But again, you know, if you want to stay up a little bit longer with your legs a little bit higher, that's fine. And we're going to stay for another 4 or 5 breaths. if you have got your legs up, either hooked over a chair up the wall or just floating, just bring the knees into the chest. I'm just going to give the knees a nice gentle rock backwards and forwards just to massage that lower back. And then slowly just bringing the legs down onto the floor. So going to take time here, there's no rush. And then just got to move those blankets out of the way. We're going to do a gentle couple of twists. So bringing the knees back up to about 90 degrees. We're going to bring the arms out the side. And we're just going to allow both our knees to drop out to the left. So if you can, just try to get the legs just to land on the floor if that feels comfortable. If you're struggling, again, you can use your blankets again just to give you a bit of support. But so it should be reasonably comfortable. Just watch your lower back. And then using the core, just coming back to centre. And then dropping both legs out to the right. And again, just allowing them just to rest or come down towards the floor. Slowly coming back to centre. So just do some nice gentle windscreen wipers with those legs and the knees. Just to release any more tension anywhere. And then slowly we're going to get ready for a nice Shavasana. So just get yourself nice and comfortable. So if you've got a blanket that you can use over top of you, maybe pop a blanket underneath your head. Allow the legs just to drop out to the side. Rest your arms by your side on your belly, whatever's comfortable. We're just going to stay here for a few breaths. You can stay in Shavasana as long as you want. So if that feels the case, then just pause the video. But if you're ready to come out now, maybe just moving the fingertips a little bit. So I just quite like sometimes just moving each finger onto each thumb, onto the thumbs, just very gently. Just bring a little bit of movement back. Maybe moving the wrists and the ankles and the toes. Gently bringing that awareness back. And then gently drawing the knees into the chest again. So again, staying here as long as you need to. And then we're going to roll onto one side. Just taking the time. Slowly easing yourself back up into a seated position. So if you've got your blankets handy, again, just use those just to pop them underneath your bottom for a little bit of extra comfort. And we're just going to use the last few moments of our practice just to allow ourselves, again, a lovely little bit of stillness. Slowly bringing the hands into the heart centre. We're just going to lower our heads. Just really giving ourselves that thanks for taking this hour of time throughout our day just to nurture our bodies and just offer gratitude for what it does for us. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again soon.